On the morning of June 3rd, 1998, a German family, having just finished their coffee, was leisurely enjoying their train journey. This high-speed train was traveling from Munich to Hamburg. It was 10:30 in the morning and everything had been completely normal until then. However, just 12 minutes later, that family was struck with terror when, unexpectedly, a piece of steel shot up from beneath their feet, tearing through the floor directly between their seats. However, this was merely the onset. It marked the commencement of the most perilous catastrophe in the annals of German high-speed rail history. Welcome back to JMTV, esteemed viewers during the twilight years of the 1950s. Japan stunned the world when its Shinkansen, also known as the bullet train, became the world's first high-speed train. This remarkable train forged strong connections between cities throughout the nation, revolutionizing travel and shrinking journeys that once took hours into just a few short minutes. Japan. Following Japan's example, France and Italy also established their own high-speed train infrastructure, and soon after, Germany joined in. Germany initiated its very own high-speed train project, which they called ICE, or Intercity Express. When these impressive trains first came into public view during the 1980s, the world believed that this represented the ultimate future for trains. Every conceivable detail a person could imagine was incorporated, from aerodynamic design and the utilization of modern computers to an unparalleled comfortable journey. Everything truly appeared flawless, yet every perfect system invariably harbors a hidden weakness. And for ICE trains, their hidden weakness was their wheels. The wheels on the ICE Generation 1 trains were initially made with a monoblock design. This meant the entire wheel was crafted from a solid one-piece steel which was strong, affordable, and reliable. However, a significant issue was noticed with this specific monoblock wheel. After a few years, passengers began complaining that when the train operated at high speed, it experienced an unusual vibration. In the buffet car, where food was served, the glasses, spoons, and forks would start making noises due to these vibrations. These vibrations and noises were making the journey quite unpleasant. Ultimately, when engineers finally investigated, the problem was identified within the wheels themselves. The monoblock wheels were certainly crafted with a one-piece construction and were equally balanced on all sides. However, if even a mere 5-gram weight is added to just one side at high RPM, this difference in extra weight would indeed generate vibrations within the wheel, and that's precisely what was occurring. Because of the constant high-speed operation, friction had caused certain sides of the monoblock wheel to wear down unevenly, thus disrupting the overall wheel balance. At lower speeds, it remained unnoticed, but when this unbalanced wheel rotated at 250 km per hour, the entire train would experience a distinct vibration. This represents a very common issue for any type of wheel. For example, even with a car wheel, if two punctures were to be repaired on just one side, that specific side would gain a small amount of extra weight, even if it's just a few grams, and this added weight can result in vibrations when traveling at high speeds. To rectify this, wheel balancing is typically performed with a technician meticulously balancing the wheel by carefully attaching an equivalent amount of weight to the exact opposite side. However, attempting to balance the countless train wheels presents an incredibly difficult task. This holds particularly true if the wheel is manufactured as a singular, undivided unit, and replacing wheels is not merely a challenging task but also proves rather costly. Therefore, German engineers developed a novel solution for addressing this specific issue with the ICE train resilient wheels. The notable feature of the resilient wheels was that they were not of a one-piece design. The inner ring was crafted separately from the outer part, and a rubber ring was placed in between them to effectively absorb vibrations. This design was specifically chosen and implemented so that whenever the outer wheel experienced wear, only that particular component would need to be replaced, not the entire wheel. At that time, this same design was also being utilized by the German tram. However, the problem was that the tram operated at a mere 60 km per hour, whereas the ICE train was expected to travel at 300. This presented a significant challenge, and you'll discover its full intricacy. You'll understand more about it later, but at that specific moment, nobody gave it any thought. The executives proceeded to approve the design of the resilient wheels without conducting any testing whatsoever, and then, in 1994, these new wheels were installed on all the high-speed trains. For a few, Everything proceeded smoothly until 1997. However, that year, Ustra, the tram company in Hanover, made a truly shocking discovery. They observed several cracks appearing in the wheels of their trams. Consequently, they replaced the damaged wheel parts and, out of caution, reported their findings to Deutsche Bahn, which is Germany's national railway company. However, since no complaints about vibrations in ICE trains had been reported at that specific time, Deutsche Bahn disregarded the warning entirely. Then, precisely 1 year later, on June 3, 1998, everything took a drastic turn. At precisely 10:30 a.m., ICE train 884 departed from Hanover. The train departed from Hanover station bound for Hamburg. It consisted of 14 coaches in total, 2 power cars and 12 passenger cars. Aboard were 287 passengers and 8 crew members. Everything appeared normal as the train pulled out of Hanover station. Georg Dittmann was seated in coach number 1 with his family. Their journey was progressing pleasantly, but after a few minutes, something unexpectedly struck the train floor. The very next instant, a piece of steel, sharp and menacing, tore through the floor, emerging between 2 seats. This pointed metal fragment was, in fact, a piece that had broken off from the wheel itself. Witnessing this horrifying sight, George and his entire family, they immediately began to panic, as if the ground had slipped right from under their feet. The sheer velocity at which that metal piece pierced through. If its trajectory had been just a little to the left or right, his family would not have made it out alive. He swiftly ushered his wife and children into the adjacent compartment and then personally went off to locate the conductor. The conductor was located in the 3rd coach at that moment. George thoroughly explained the entire situation, but based on company policy, the conductor was unable to halt the train until he personally verified the problem. Consequently, they both proceeded together towards the 1st coach. The train was still racing along at 200 kilometers per hour, and now the vibrations within it were gradually growing stronger. By the time the conductor and George made their way to the 1st coach, the train had already covered an additional 3 kilometers and was moments away from entering a perilous section where the tracks diverged. The broken wheel piece was persistently dragging underneath the train, scratching the track as it moved. When the train crossed the first section point, that very wheel dropped, striking the track lever, and at that critical moment, a dangerous incident occurred. The track switch changed. Consequently, the train's 1st and 2nd coaches remained on a single track, but the 3rd coach veered off onto the other. Consequently, the front and rear bogies were pulled in entirely different directions. The entire train body twisted violently, and coach number 3 directly impacted a solid concrete pillar of the bridge. This horrific collision completely destroyed half of the bridge. Coach number 4 expertly avoided the collapsing bridge but slammed into the embankment, tragically crushing 3 railway workers instantly. Coach number 5 and 6 were subsequently buried beneath 300 tons of concrete from the falling bridge. Both of those The coaches were later compressed to a mere height of 6 inches. Yes, indeed, just 6 inches. The remaining coaches following from behind 7, 8, 9 and 10 collided into each other at full speed and folded completely like paper. Only the initial 2 coaches, those housing George and his family, were spared, and the front locomotive continued for 3 kilometers before coming to a stop. The very moment coach number 3 struck the bridge, the engineer and driver certainly experienced a significant jolt. However, they remained completely oblivious to the catastrophic events transpiring behind them. The catastrophic accident took place in a small town called Eschede. Upon hearing the loud sound of the explosion, the local residents immediately rushed to the scene. The scene that unfolded before their eyes was one that they would likely never forget throughout their entire lives. Broken coaches, fragments of metal, flames, and the chilling screams of people. Some individuals found themselves trapped beneath the bridge's wreckage. Others were caught in their seats, and the pressure-proof windows were so robust that breaking them proved nearly impossible. Consequently, rescue workers were compelled to summon heavy machinery. Nevertheless, it still took many hours to reach the initial group of trapped individuals. Over 1,000 rescue workers swiftly made their way to the scene. Ambulances, military personnel, and medical doctors all collaborated to commence the operation. A medical conference was happening nearby. 40 doctors from that conference swiftly arrived at the site, but by then, everything was already finished. In this tragic accident, a total of 101 individuals lost their lives. 88 people were discovered in a severely injured condition, and approximately 100 others sustained minor wounds. Those individuals who were in the first two coaches, and fortunately, their lives were saved. German high-speed trains, previously considered the safest worldwide, saw that impression completely shattered by this disaster. This unfortunate event profoundly shocked not only Germany, but also deeply affected people in France, Italy and Japan who depend on and use the high-speed train network. When investigators analyzed the entire site, it initially appeared as if a vehicle had somehow gotten onto the track. However, upon discovering the wheel component penetrating the floor of coach number 1, all aspects of the situation began to clarify. Upon reviewing the logs, it became clear that the same train wheel had previously reported a flat spot issue. This wasn't an isolated incident, it had been reported a staggering 8 times, yet the wheel remained unreplaced. Despite the presence of crack detection machines, visual inspections were inexplicably still conducted using only a flashlight. The company's justification for this practice was to claim that those machines frequently produced false alarms. Back in 1992, the Fraunhofer German research organization also issued a stern warning, indicating that resilient wheels could pose a significant danger when used on high-speed trains. Furthermore, in 1997, the Hanover Tram Company also provided a warning. However, both warnings were overlooked. Engineers later clarified that this specific tire rotated 500,000 times daily, operating at exceptionally high speeds. During each rotation, the steel tire would undergo a slight compression followed by an immediate expansion. This led to the formation of extensive cracks that worsened progressively over time. The incorporation of rubber between the components absorbed vibrations, effectively obscuring the critical fact that the wheels were actually cracking. Consequently, on June 3, 1998, the catastrophic failure of just one wheel resulted in this massive high-speed train accident. The Eschede disaster is widely regarded as the world's most catastrophic high-speed train accident. In the aftermath of this tragic event, the wheels on all high-speed trains were promptly replaced with the monoblock design. Furthermore, numerous bridges located near critical junction points were relocated to meticulously avert any recurrence of such a devastating incident. Following the accident, Germany extensively re-evaluated its entire rail system. Pressure-proof windows were Even today, in Germany's railway training centers, the acid disaster is taught as a prominent example. Monoblock wheels definitely come with a higher maintenance cost and require more time, yet at high speeds, due to being cast as a single piece, they are considerably less prone to breaking. Furthermore, vibrations serve as a crucial signal that the wheels are now in need of balancing. I truly hope that all of you will thoroughly enjoy this GEMTV video and share it widely. I extend my sincere gratitude for all your loving comments. We'll meet again in the next truly great video.